Oh, yes. So we're live. Hello,
Whoa.
hello, people. And I have with me today Tania, a beautiful person, a lovely healer, and a light worker. So for me, she is that person who, when I think of her, I think of breath. When I think of her, I think of joy. When I think of her, I think of tranquility and union. So, Tanya, tell us about you.
Oh, wow. What a beautiful introduction. Thank you so much, Rokia.
Thank you.
I'm very honored and privileged to be here and to be interviewed by someone as beautiful inside and outside as you as well. So actually, I'm gonna be a little bit mischievous here and say that I usually don't call myself a healer or a light worker. And why? Oh, wow, okay. Why? Because what I do is bring people closer to their own healing wisdom, because when we reunite with our wholeness,
Mhm.
that in itself is healing.
True.
So in fact, it's the person I am having a conversation with or working with or whatever that is healing him or herself
True.
by allowing him or herself to connect to that intrinsic wisdom that is there 100% of the time. So through the breath, um, we actually land deeper into what I call home. Home, the space within where there is no separation, where human and divine are one unit, and where we are allowed to be all that we are and allowing ourselves to be all that we are.
Hmm.
So that's the healing part. And then about the light working, um, actually, yes and no. Of course, this is just a jest. But why? Because in fact, when we are in that space of silence that you mentioned within, there is no longer one or the other.
Right.
So the whole journey of reunion is to transcend duality, so to transcend light and dark, and to embrace dark, because it is a part of all. So the way I see us, all of us, in our wholeness is neither one nor the other. It's something else. So we're beyond either light or dark when the human and the divine reunite. So therefore, I usually don't use those terms for that reason. Not that they are inappropriate, obviously, because that's what you would generally call
Yeah.
what I do.
And and like I said, that's how I see you.
Yeah,
Which
exactly.
is,
So that's perfect.
yeah, so that's how I see you, and I could see you as I see you, and that's your perception of who
Yeah,
you are. It's a
exactly.
privilege. So it
That's
means
why all perspectives are 100% true and valid.
true. And hence I passed on the baton to you, saying, Tanya, tell us about you.
Yeah.
We met at the Women's Economic Forum uh, earlier this year and also in 2017. Um, I loved her energy and the way she carries herself. It's not just about the conversations she brought to the room, but also about the kind of aura or the kind of wisdom that she has within her. And we also collaborated together on a project in 2018, which is called The Breakthrough, the book that brings together women thought leaders, 16 of us, right? 16 or is it
17.
17 of us from different parts of the world. We come together and we have shared our stories of breakthrough, of how we found our breakthrough. So thank you, Tanya, for being on Wise Wednesdays. It's really kind of you. And what I'd like to ask is when you said the grace of just being, for some of us it might feel like just being what?
Yeah, that's the whole point of it. So the idea was to bring a title that really brings us out of the mind, because it's our mind that wonders about how, if, when, but, and all of these continuous questions that we tend to produce. And just being is open. So
Yeah.
it is not necessarily qualified with anything in particular. And what does that mean? That means embracing each now moment fully, as it comes, as it is. And we don't know before the breath that we're coming to what it's going to be. So we're just in this breath right now, just being it fully, in total surrender to whatever it is that we are living in this breath. The next breath will take care of itself. So therefore, that means that the breath that was before is also not there anymore. Therefore, being totally and fully in that surrender, in that flow, in that grace is really just being. Because there is, of course, there can be memory, but you're not attached to it, and it is not affecting your breath in this moment. And you're also not connected to the next breath, because you trust fully that it's coming in a sequence of what you're breathing right now. So that's why it's just being fully.
Really. Super. So a lot of us spend a lot of time, either in the past or future planning, and then somehow we miss the moment. We miss the moment that life is giving us. What are your thoughts on that?
And even more so when something challenging is happening, right? So when we are confronted with some sort of situation that brings up fear, or that makes us have to change some attitude, some thought form, then that's the question for me. That's the big question. Like, okay, so why would I want to stay in this now moment if this now moment is not comfortable?
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, if you would like your now moments to be a string of pearls that is beautifully put together, first you need to realize what are the other factors, which is, what are you believing about the possibilities in your now moments?
Yeah.
What are your actions in your now moments? So first of all, your beliefs, your thinking, then what you actually do that validates those beliefs, and of course also what are your words, what kind of conversations do you have with yourself mainly, and because those are the main conversations we have throughout our day. And then of course, what conversations do you have with others that validate again those beliefs and those habits. So okay, so if your now moment is not necessarily the most comfortable now moment ever, or if you are not comfortable with the flow of change that is
Yeah.
coming forth for you, or if you are not comfortable with whatever has brought up a big fear or even panic or whatever, then it's time to stop in that now moment and really feel into that, because otherwise you'll just shove it back into the corner and pretend it's not there. Okay, like children do, when they're small and we're playing hide and seek, and we hide our face, and they hide their face and they think we can't see them. Well,
Peekaboo.
we do that all the time.
Yeah.
Pretend. Okay, let's pretend that's not there. And now let's imagine something else that I prefer, and then strive for that something else all the time. So then what happens is, okay, so if your habit is striving for something else all the time, what are you telling life? That what you have is never enough. Therefore, your now moment is always
Incomplete.
depleted, is never complete, never,
Yeah.
ever, ever, and so on.
Mm.
So that's why it becomes, in a way, easier, but not. And that's why I say, in a way, easier to pretend that next moment or eventually another moment in the past were somehow better, or even worse. If we're looking at the fear that is being brought up in that moment, it can be also from that fear that comes from behind, because fears only exist because there's a past.
True.
If we're not attached to that, it doesn't come up. So right, so how do you stay in the now moment? Well, you embrace it. And what does that mean? You look at it in the eye, whatever it is. And if you enjoy it, well, then create more of that for you. Can you receive that? Can you feel comfortable? Can you allow yourself to feel safe? Can you allow yourself to be cherished, cared for in your now moment? And if not, of course, there is probably a history of that happening. And of course, it's not necessarily your fault. No one is saying that what is happening now, you created it because on purpose or anything like that. No, things happen in our lives. We grow up in a certain way because of those experiences. Now, once we become old enough to look at those experiences, we can embrace them in a different, new way. So staying in the present is all about embracing it fully, no matter what it is presenting to you. And if we embrace it fully, breathe into our soul, breathe into our presence, and feel what our wisdom, what our heart is communicating to us each moment, then the next moment is a given. So there's no point worrying about it, because it will always be a result of your now.
Absolutely. So we have a question that came in from Sharon. She says, what if the moment is unavoidable and needs notice and cannot be ignored?
That's the point. Yeah, exactly. That's thank you for the comment, because that was what I was saying, actually. So if you're in a now moment that presents to you something that eventually you don't even want, but you're there, I mean, you can't avoid it.
Yeah.
It's what you are living, and what you are living and your reality is always, though it might be hard to digest, 100% your production. Of course, deriving from your education, deriving from your experiences, but it comes from within you, from
Right.
your beliefs, from your patterns, from your habits, and so on. So I would actually go as far as saying it is always unavoidable.
Yeah, it is.
If it's happening, you're in it.
Yep. So the other day I was talking to someone and I said, most often when we have a situation that we don't want to address, it's kind of like taking all those moments, because those moments, what you're resisting is going to persist. So it will keep coming back to you in a different way or another. It's kind of like you're attracting the same experiences, you're attracting the same kind of relationships,
Yeah,
the same kind of failures or moments.
always.
Yeah, so and if you keep pushing them away, it's like stacking them inside a cupboard and tightly closing the door. And there'll come a point when the door cannot take it anymore and
Yeah.
it will spring open on you. Exactly. It could be an illness, it could be a larger challenge, it could just come smack in your face.
Usually it does, because most of us like to make it hard.
Oh, but unfortunately, we think we're doing ourselves a favor by not addressing it, but we're
Yeah.
not. It has to be
Yeah.
addressed.
Exactly. No doubt. And interestingly enough, there's this saying that I really love, which is the future is the past healed in your now moment.
Wow.
Um, so whether it is happening now and unavoidable, as Sharon said, um, whether it seems to just be happening now or not, it's not just happening now because it is a consequence. It's always a consequence. We live in this life as cause and effect. Everything we think, say, and do has an effect. And everything we have thought, said, and done has an effect.
Hmm.
And we will be aware of that effect or not. But the effect is there anyway.
True. True.
So the sum total of my experiences is completely different from the sum total of yours or anyone else's. And that's what makes each one of us unique. Because it cannot be combined in exactly the same way for two people. So that's
True.
why there are as many realities as people living on Earth. And therefore, each of our realities is, yes, it is our creation. Now, the thing is, no matter what it is, and no matter how complex it might seem to be in that moment where we get a little bit shaken, if it is a challenging moment, we always have in us the wisdom to transcend it. Why? Because it's happening to us. I mean, it
It's our
was
journey.
the possibility for it happening was created by us in our reality, by our beliefs, etc. So if these things exist in us and created this opportunity, this challenge, whatever it is, it's because I know as well how to move past it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be happening because I would not have a concept of it.
Hmm.
Something only happens when I can conceive it.
True. So Sharon adds on to say, but doesn't one have a limitation of how much they can take on?
You know, actually, I'm going to share here. I've just finished reading a book called I Am Serena, which I really recommend by a lady called Serena Faith Masterson.
Okay.
And she was born and raised in a satanic cult family and underwent a program, a secret program from the US government where 2 million people were subject to all sorts of torture in order to have their personality split. And this lady, with the help of Norma Delaney, which is also the lady who I learned the breath and staying and how to listen to my soul and all of these things, helped her throughout 20 years to integrate over 300 split personality aspects
Hmm.
to be today a complete woman with a job and everything a person could desire. And it
Hmm.
wasn't easy at all. So if someone can not die through everything she went through, and I'm not going to recount the gory details,
Sure.
but it's in the book. And she managed to have the discernment to ask for help and say, no, but I want to overcome fear. I want to be whole.
Right.
She managed to have this discernment. And she had the fantastic magical luck, which is not luck, that someone was available to help her through this, and not only available but wise
And
enough
willing.
to and willing to surrender totally to this process of complete healing. So she only needed to say, I want this, I
Yeah.
really want this, and this happened. So in answer to your question, first of all, we never know what's the purpose of the soul.
Hmm.
So when we incarnate, each one has their own purpose. And in this case, for this lady, it was to transcend fear
Ah.
from now on. But to do that, she went through the worst possible scenario we cannot even imagine. And she transcended it. And like her, there are other stories, but this story is really, really, absolutely stunning. And it's possible, yes. So no one is to judge, none of us is to judge how much is enough. How much can one take?
Yep.
Because one will take what one will take.
Yep.
It's not something we can define as having a sort of a limit. I see myself, if I had lived that experience, I say I would have been dead maybe when I was 1 month old, because I can't see myself going through that experience that this lady went. So, you know, this is all very, very subjective, very personal.
True. So I'm going to write in the name of the book in comments later on, so that I get the name and the spelling and everything right.
Yeah.
But one thing that while you were speaking to Sharon caught my attention was she asked. She asked. She had the willingness to seek for help.
Yeah.
You know, most often when we are in that challenging situation, we don't ask for help. We ask, why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
And you
That's the thing that surprised me the most, you know, with this lady, is that she didn't ever, I never read one line there that meant she was feeling like a victim. And she lived through the worst possible terror one could go through. But no, she said, no, I'm willing to transcend. I need help. I want to do this. Who is willing to help me? But not because I'm sort of, you know, poor me. It's because no, this is possible. I can do this. Of course, she never knew when she said she wanted help, and when Norma said, yes, I'm going to help. None of them knew how much and how far and how much dedication and how much determination it would require. But that doesn't really matter, because if you follow your heart, if you follow your soul, if you follow your intuition 100% through and through, it will never, ever, ever deceive you. The thing is, the human part of us has to keep on cooperating. That's all. Just keep on saying yes to the invitation. If we keep on saying yes, the path is shown. And the hardest part is to keep on saying yes. That's the hardest part.
True. And also to be willing to receive.
Total. That's so big. So big.
I always get reminded of that funny scene in Bruce Almighty, Jim Carrey, where he's frustrated with life and he's driving on this I think it was a Corniche, I don't know what, he's driving and he said, God, give me a sign. And he's really frustrated with God. And you have all these signboards blinking saying, caution, stop, don't drive ahead, under construction. All these signs are blinking, but because he's so frustrated and he's looking in the rear view mirror, if you really look at that scene, it's so close to life. We're constantly looking in the rear view mirror, we're grumbling at God, and we're saying, why? I mean, give me a sign. And there are all these signs.
All these signs.
But you're missing them because you're screaming and upset and bitter. So yeah, I mean,
I usually say, as you're saying, it's not God that abandons us. It's us that abandon God within. We abandon ourselves.
Yeah.
Exactly as you're saying, by always looking somewhere else where the message isn't. But the message is loud and clear usually. But it's easier to grumble, as you were saying.
Most often it's right in our face, but we tend to miss it. So it's Sandra asks, what movie is it? It is Bruce Almighty, Jim Carrey. It's an old one, but it's classic. I love it. It's a Jim Carrey movie.
Jim Carrey is fabulous. Yeah,
he is fabulous. We have a question here from Neha who says, what if someone will say to be diplomatic in professional scenarios, whereas one is not as such? So I think
Could you please
Yeah.
sort of, did you
So
understand
I'm
fully?
trying to break it down. Let me rephrase that, and I'll ask her. She's watching, so hopefully she'll tell us if it's correct that what we've perceived. She says, "What if someone will say to be diplomatic in professional scenarios, whereas one is not as such?" So I'm assuming she's talking about how people say something in the professional scene to be just diplomatic and kind, but in reality, within, they're not that way. So, Neha, please correct me if I'm right, and if I'm not, so please add in your comments so that we can explore this further.
So, the hardest thing to do, first of all, is to follow the yes, as we were saying before. Follow your heart 100% of the time, even if it seems that it's gonna be completely crazy. But your essence, your intuition, your soul never, ever, ever leads you astray. And another thing is be 100% truthful all the time. And that is not easy. You can be truthful without being hurtful. Because each time you step over your truth to somehow accommodate for someone else's truth, just to look good in the picture, you are telling life a message. And then what's going to happen next is a direct result of that. Because, you know, energy, the way it happens, the way things happen, it has no affiliation with light or dark or good or bad or whatever. It's a direct reflection of your own life, of what you're doing, of what you're saying, of how you are behaving. So you can be diplomatic, I would say, yes, but never, ever, ever relinquishing your truth. And your truth doesn't need to be accepted by others as their truth. It just needs to be respected by you as your truth, irrespective of whether others will, first of all, agree with it, and secondly, actually also want to have your truth as theirs. I mean, that doesn't matter at all. What matters in your life at the end of the day is always how far you respect you.
Yeah.
And this may seem quite harsh in one sense, but in the other, please notice how loving that is. Because when you respect you 100%, you will respect everyone else as well, because you will see each one as deserving of
True.
this profound respect, and you will see everyone else's truth beyond layers of judgment.
True. And it's also about letting yourself have that, um, like last week when I was speaking, we were speaking about boundaries, and we spoke about how when your boundaries are invaded or
Yeah,
walked upon, how it begins to feel like you've been eroded, your respect
exactly.
has been eroded. So again, connecting back to just being, it's like you feel whole when you are giving yourself respect so that the other person knows where to come from and how to treat you for
Exactly.
that matter.
If you share openly where you stand, you are already placing your boundaries. You are making it clear. I mean, it's not a guessing game. It doesn't have to be a guessing game. People don't have to guess what is your perspective or where your limit stands. You have to say that. And in work, and because I think that this was also related to work, many times people allow themselves to be walked over
Yeah.
just because they're afraid of eventually losing their job or losing their rank or earning less. But at the end of the day, that is not the value. If you respect yourself, even in a work situation, and you have to say no, to your boss in a certain situation where it is, for example, someone is asking you to do too many extra hours and you can't cope anymore or something like that, you have to say that fearlessly. Oh, yeah. Now I'm going to say fearlessly and then I'm going to lose my job. Well, please be sure that whatever happens, what's coming next is surely much better because you've respected yourself.
Yeah.
Maybe that job is not fit for you. Maybe you're not being respected enough there. So, yeah, we have a lot of fear of change, but that's what life is permanently.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the only constant is change, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just like the breath. You can't retain the out breath or the in breath, otherwise, the breath doesn't
It
flow.
has to. Absolutely. So there has to be a flow in, even in conversations, even in just being.
Yeah, exactly. So just being boils down to listening to yourself, to your deeper wisdom, to your expanded awareness, not to your mind's drone, always questioning and bringing up judgments. And that's not what I'm saying with listen to yourself. I'm saying take a deep breath and go into that silence, and that silence, it speaks volumes. So when you access that silence and then you come into your daily life from that silence, magic happens. Literally, magic happens.
I do agree. And of course, you know my acronym for SMILE. The first one is silence the mind. It starts with silence.
Yeah. And that would be also an interesting thing to comment here, which is, yeah, how do you do that? You don't. Because you can't, because it's there.
It
The
has
thing
to
is,
function.
what are you gonna pay attention to? So it's there, it's speaking, it's whatever, but for example, through the breath, you just focus on the breath and come into a silent space within you. Gradually, the more you do this, the more the mind really keeps quiet. It
Yep.
does keep quiet. Why? Because it's entertaining conversations with no one.
True.
And no one left likes being left speaking to him or herself, right?
Yep. And
So
and
you
And I think even if you are thinking or speaking to yourself, what's important is what's the conversation you're having and keeping
exactly
your
what's it
attention on
about?
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah. We have a great question from Tina. From Tina, who says how to deal with rudely dominating people. And I think I was going to, while you were speaking, what came in my mind was Neha's question about being diplomatic, and I'm going to tie it up with Tina's question is about, sometimes it's not just about you; it's also about the other person. Sometimes they're being diplomatic, and it's like a fake diplomatic, but they're actually not. So, and they're on the inside, they're not presenting their true self because they're just being diplomatic. And that's this, in my opinion, people who are dominating are pretty much like that, where they're being dominating because there's something within them that makes them feel small. So to compensate, in my model of the world, I feel that people who tend to be rude and dominating are being that way because they have to show themselves as large. And the only way they can do that is make the other person feel small. So
yeah.
this is how I see it. I want to hear from you. So how do you deal with?
So I agree 100% with you. And to deal with that, well, why would you deal with it? So the question here is, okay, in what way does that affect you?
Yeah,
Because this person, they're speaking to themselves. Okay, a very dominating, very rude person is not speaking to you.
yeah,
They are coming from an inner war,
yeah,
from an inner battle. So whatever you did that triggered, you did or said, or might not even have done anything, but to that person in that moment might have triggered a reaction, is theirs.
yeah,
Okay. So now, how does that affect you? Okay, if it makes you angry, if it makes you react, if it makes you feel frustrated, etc., stop.
Insecure, scared.
Yes, take that moment for you. I mean, use it for you. So instead of then engaging in a major conflict with this person, focus on how you are feeling and allow those feelings to become visible to you, not to the other person. It's about you now. Now it's about how you feel, right? Okay. And so, okay, that's easier said than done. Well, yeah, actually, becoming whole is easier said than done, but there's no way to do it than to do it.
Exactly. And gosh.
So yeah,
I
I've had
feel
that a lot. A lot of now I don't. I don't have people like that in my life. Actually, it depends on where you're coming from. Really, then you don't find yourself so much in those situations. But if it does, then I mean, it doesn't have to affect me. But when I was in situations like that and it did affect me, the thing I did at that moment was breathe. And all of a sudden, there's this silence that descends. Sort of like a protective silence that keeps you from argumenting, from arguing, from fighting. And that brings you into, okay, what is this bringing me?
And what is this telling me about me? Because I think that no one can make you feel small and dominate you until you give them that permission.
There you are.
Yeah, I mean,
What I've noticed also, and when I was in situations like that, is when I came into this space of deep silence and really looked at the person in the eye without wavering, but without having to, have to be right or anything. Gradually, what happens is, oops,
sorry, that's
what's
me.
happening? Oh, okay,
We have. I do apologize.
no
By the
problem.
way, yeah, just a moment. That's gonna happen one more time. So we
So
have.
when you look this person in the eye,
Yeah.
but fearlessly. So you have to be in that space inside of you where you are safe and where you know that story is not about you. I tell you, I've been in situations where it seemed like the other person was gonna hit me or really, really be aggressive, really seriously. And it just stopped after some minutes. And because I was not there interacting, and then they just stormed away and went to hit the door or do something else.
One thing I've learned is when someone's yelling at you, if you yell back, they yell back to you. But if you,
More.
that moment, yeah, if in that moment you lower your voice or just remain in silence, they don't know who to yell at anymore
Yeah,
because you're not responding, you're not reflecting it back to them. So
it's
it's kind of
and it's a practice. I mean, you don't have to get it right all the time, or
yeah,
it's okay. I mean, we're all experiencing each moment for the moment it is. But if you're aware that you can, for instance, not raise your voice to the same level or even not respond if it's not productive in that situation, you just stay.
yep. So we have a question from Sandra who says, "Isn't it important to show boundaries?"
Yeah, well, that's what we were saying before. Showing boundaries is respecting your truth. But if someone is completely out of control, they're not looking at you. I mean, they're all in themselves.
Yeah.
How are they gonna notice your boundaries? Your boundaries are precisely shown when you don't interact. You're
Yep.
saying, look, I'm not going that way.
Yep.
I am not in your game.
I am not in this conversation. It's just about you.
Exactly. That is a very clear boundary.
Yep, yep. And Sharon says, so how do you channel those emotions, right? Sharon, could you be a little more clear on which emotions? So if we've discussed fear, we've discussed anger. So which essentially are you talking about? So how do you channel emotions? Let's just look at it at large, and maybe we have a comment coming in from Sharon, and we have more clarity on what she's asking.
Well, first of all, you don't channel emotions. They're all in your mind.
Okay.
So emotions are created from experience, right?
Yep.
And so what happens is you feel them. Now, if you feel them and stay with them, but don't go away with them, so stay with them, and meaning you recognize they are there, but you don't get lost in them, and you stay with your breath, then you gradually walk past them. So through them, not past, sorry, through them. So the emotion is there, but it doesn't kidnap you, right?
I love that.
Oh. And if that's the question, it would be by focusing, in this case, just focus on your breath. Your breath will be short at that moment.
Yeah.
If you are angry, if you are, okay, right, notice that. No problem. You don't need to make it longer just because you can't actually at that moment. But just focus on the breath and let it go deeper. Get out of the need to be kidnapped and accepted by your emotion. Now it's the other way around. It's you accepting your emotion. See, usually what happens is our need for acceptance is such that even if it's an emotion that doesn't really serve me, I would rather have it accept me, so I go with it, than stay and show it another way.
Makes sense. Absolutely makes sense. So, how did you find okay, so we've got lockdown. So, thanks to COVID, we have alarms coming up on the phone. And I think even if you turn your phone on silent, it tends to make sure that you hear it. Sorry about that. So, bringing us back to this conversation, how do you make sure that you don't like lose yourself in the flow?
What do you mean by lose yourself in the flow?
In the flow of the now, when you say you really, I think you don't really lose yourself in the flow. I'm contradicting.
I mean, it's the only way you find yourself, so that's why I couldn't understand the question.
You find yourself. Broad question there. Okay, yeah. We actually have somebody there. Sandra says, I once had a gentleman at a party deliberately messing up my hair. I was in shock and did not know how to respond. Some advice here is welcome, ladies. Okay.
Well, maybe in that case, it would be your turn to be firm, affirmative, and really assertive and say, look, you do not get to touch my hair. This is my hair. And you don't need to be angry, but of course, yes, firm and yes, decisive and confident and secure. He would be totally shocked. If you turn to him and tell him clearly, look, this is my hair and you don't get to touch it.
Yep. Sometimes when such situations happen, we as women tend to either hide away or brush it under the carpet thinking, oh, must have been my mistake. I wonder what I was wearing. I wonder if I smiled.
I've had situations, for instance, of walking down the street and, sometimes there's guys saying this or that. In the past, I've had situations like that. And I have turned and asked them if there's anything they want to say or what's the matter. And they, of course, don't know where to hide.
True. It's like asking them straight in your face, what's going on here?
Yeah. And it works. It really does. Because, these people, they're bullying. And what does a bully want? It wants insecure people. Yeah. So if you feel if you show that person you're feeling insecure, of course you can smell it. You don't need to show because it exudes from your pores. But okay, but even so, you can, even if you're feeling insecure, you can pretend that you are confident, and it works as well.
Yep,
But
yep.
of course, if you are confident, it even works more. But to get to be confident, then you need to at home sit with yourself and understand why you don't feel confident about yourself. Why are these voices telling you that you're not good enough, that you're not worthy, etc., etc.? But that's all a whole other conversation.
Conversation for another
Yeah.
time. So Tina says, how to calm kids' anger and other emotion in lockdown. Okay, yeah. And Sharon says, yes, especially rebellious
Yeah.
teenagers. Okay, great question
That
there.
is a really tricky thing, and not running away from the question. I would say that it's each case is a case. I mean, I don't feel there is a recipe answer for that question,
Hmm.
because it all depends on the home environment,
Yeah.
the teenager's way of being,
Hmm.
personality.
Yep.
It's a very tricky situation, and I would answer to that. Well, feel
Hmm.
feel what is the best way to deal with that for yourself. Though this might seem like not answering the question, that's the only
No,
thing I could answer,
no, because
because there's
each
no
one,
recipes.
yeah, because each one of us responds in a different way, and what works for you might not work for me in my model of the world.
Exactly.
Each one of us is
Yeah.
living by our way of looking at life, way of being, and
Yeah.
just as each individual is different, each family unit is different, and each
Yeah.
child is different
And the
within the
title,
family.
exactly. And the title, The Grace of Just Being, is exactly boiling down to just feel,
Yeah,
feel what is appropriate for you in each moment and in each situation. I've got a son that has a bit of a temper. Sometimes he loses his temper. And for me, what works is not going along with his temper, but of course not screaming at him, not trying to force him out of his temper. To say, okay, when you're done with that, then we can talk about it.
yeah.
And this, and I say, yeah, I'm not gonna, I
I'm gonna
just,
chase after you.
yeah, exactly.
It's okay. So I think this is what I was actually trying to come at, and the sound kind of distracted me. So when I was asking you about that question about flow, it was about how do you avoid flowing with the emotions. Like for example,
Ah,
that
okay.
question. Yeah. So that question about anger is what triggered it, but I kind of
Hmm.
lost the flow, ironically. But when you are facing an emotion, how do you kind of not flow along with it and make sure you're there within yourself and not going with the emotion, chasing after it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. My answer is basically always the same. Just breathe
Go within.
and come into a space of presence in your center. In your center, which is in your belly. You can actually put your hands on your belly when you take that deep breath. Feel the warmth in your belly there, because that's where you can come to that space,
Hmm.
right? Because of course you know already that you don't want to go away with that emotion. Otherwise, you wouldn't be conceiving the question, right? So the person who conceives a question like that, how do you not flow with the emotions and let yourself be carried away, is already aware that they don't want to be carried away, right?
True, true.
Okay,
I agree.
good. So that's a point of awareness. Therefore, when you breathe and really stay with that breath, that emotion will be boiling probably in your heart and really trying to take your breath away.
Hmm.
But you are not choosing to not breathe. You are choosing the opposite. And why is the breath so important? It's because when you breathe deep down into your belly, when you really breathe through your nose fully, not forcefully, gradually, fully, you're telling your body, you're telling yourself that everything's okay.
Mm.
We're going to work this out. Just calm down now. Calm down.
Mm.
So as you yourself, calm yourself down despite your emotions. They're there. You're not denying them.
Right.
The thing is, now you're coming into a place of observation. So that's how, is by coming into a place of observation. You are no longer the actor of these emotions. You are the observer.
True.
So you are no longer that aspect of personality that's coming up, that is bringing this emotion up, which will be an aspect created sometime in your past. You're not living that story in that moment, you're observing, right?
True.
Okay, and then how does that emotion disappear? By you choosing for you. Now, does this emotion serve you in your life now?
Right.
How is this emotion serving you? Do you choose to be kind with yourself or to torture yourself?
Mm.
Do you choose to be aggressive with yourself or to be loving with yourself? That's it.
Mm.
That's it.
True. Okay. I'm just going to take a moment to let that sink in because that was really, really, really gracious. Thank you.
Thank
Mm.
you.
And another thing that comes to my mind is validating feelings.
Hmm.
So growing up, most often as children, you invalidate feelings. They come rushing up
Hmm.
to you saying they're angry with someone, and you hush them away. They come saying they're scared, and you say you shouldn't be scared. So
Hmm.
I strongly feel that when a parent, with all good intention, invalidates a child's feelings, then they begin to get either confused with their feelings, or they begin to second guess their feelings, and they grow up
Hmm.
with being those kind of adults, and then they
Yeah.
don't know
That,
why
I mean,
from where
haven't
back.
we all basically? Yeah.
Yeah, all with good intention.
We've all, yeah, exactly. Our parents have been doing their best, of course, but because we believe that what we see, and they were also brought up in that way, um, and we keep on validating the fact that emotions are not appropriate and that you should not be feeling this way, you should not be doing that. So when I say, observe your emotion, here there is no judgment.
Mm,
There is no judgment. This is not making that emotion wrong.
mm,
It is not making yourself feel guilty because you have that emotion.
yep.
No. That's why the question is, in what way is this serving me? How does it make me feel? So for example, an aggressive emotion, an emotion of rage, it will hurt, right? It will make you hurt. It hurts. You feel the hurt in your body.
Yep.
Right, okay. In what way is that hurt serving you at the moment? Why did it come to be? It was necessary at a certain point, definitely, for sure. That's
Mm,
why there's nothing inside of us that is not appropriate and that is not there for a reason.
true.
Every single feeling, thought, emotion has a purpose.
Absolutely.
And that's the most precious gift we can give ourselves, is accepting that there's nothing inside of us that doesn't have a purpose. The thing
Mm,
is, what do I want for myself now?
yep. We tend to connect embarrassment and shame with anger.
Yeah.
It begins to feel like it's a weakness to be angry in a moment. It feels
Mm-hmm.
like there is an urgency to be able to manage. you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's not the point here. Because then again, okay, then you're going to be feeling frustrated, you're going to be feeling unworthy, and all of that stuff that then comes from there. That's not serving you for sure.
Yeah. So Junith has a question. He says feelings are the warning signs, both in a positive and negative way. So he has a question mark there. So I think he's asking, are feelings a warning sign, both positive and negative ways, in positive and negative ways?
Ooh.
Yes.
Oh boy.
It's all right. You're back.
Our internet connection had a failure here.
It's okay. It's all right. We could see you. You were
Right.
slightly fuzzy, but you're back now, so
Okay.
don't worry.
Okay.
So
Right.
I
Sorry
think
about that.
we don't have any more questions. This should be the
So
last
the
one.
question was about the feelings, right?
Yes, yes. So are feelings a warning signs in both negative as well as positive ways?
Um, phrasing it in that way as warning
Mm,
already implies that there's something wrong about something. I don't know, to me.
yeah,
So it depends, of course, on our belief systems but
perspective.
warning for me is always wait a minute.
Warning is like the bells
Uh,
ringing.
yeah. So um, I mean, feelings are just part of being human,
Mm,
and the thing here is not whether they are warning signs or not, is how they are serving you.
mm, okay,
Basically, if you have a certain feeling, um, then it's because there's something in you that is producing that feeling,
right.
right? Okay, so if there's something in you that's producing that feeling, but you are no longer in sync with that feeling, so you really don't want it for you at this moment, then just reevaluate what is the purpose of this feeling for me at the moment. Do I still need this aspect of my personality in function in my life? So I wouldn't put it in a sense of warning. It's just part of your whole makeup, like the makeup of who you are, and of many times of who you think you are, not necessarily of who you are. Because then, I mean, if you've got a certain emotion that you don't need anymore, then that's not exactly who you are, because you can go beyond that emotion. It's just a part of you playing up,
Mm,
wanting your attention, wanting your attention. And in that case, then you could say it's a warning, because all of you wants your attention.
correct.
All of you wants is your love, care, and attention.
All
That's it.
of who you are.
Yeah.
Super. So, is there anything that you'd like to share with the listeners as a closing comment? It's interesting. We're close to an hour into this conversation. We could go on forever, actually.
Yeah. We
So,
could, we could. It's really flowing, right? Like
yeah,
the grace of just being.
yeah. Actually, we haven't addressed the grace. So,
Mm.
why the grace?
Notice. Notice for you.
Mm,
What does it feel like to be able to just stay in that state of surrender that is effortless?
mm,
Isn't it graceful? For me,
yeah.
it is.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's why I like to call it a grace,
Mm,
because there's no effort, there's no fighting against. There's cooperation, there's a blending with whatever is in your reality at this moment. There's a blending of human and divine. So sort of like it's a marriage where things work.
Yes, agreed. And
A
for
cooperation.
yeah, and I like that. So when for this to happen, there has to be a weaving, right? A
Yeah.
coming together, a union.
Gradual, patient,
Yeah,
loving, very, it's gentle. It doesn't have to be hard or harsh, but yeah, it does get hard sometimes, because facing all of that stuff inside sometimes is really overwhelming. But if you stay and you allow your wisdom, your essence to show you how to go through that, you know
yeah.
you know
You always know,
so what I do is hold people's hand to their knowingness. That's all. So you always know, even when you think you don't. Because you know why you think you don't? Because your mind doesn't know.
but your
So
heart
don't
and your
go
gut.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
So which brings me all the way back to the intro where I said you're a healer, a light worker, and I say when I think of you, I think of breath, I think of joy, I think of union. So
Yeah,
it's interesting how it all came together, isn't it?
definitely.
Flawlessly.
Definitely.
Super. So,
Beautiful grace. Isn't that
great.
grace?
Yes, it is grace.
That's
Absolutely.
what I call grace.
Yep, yep. Any closing comments, Tania, with to share, and we can
Well,
wrap.
I would just say one word: allow.
Hmm,
Yeah. Allow that grace to be here for you. It is actually the simplest possible thing you can do for yourself at any given moment. Very simple. Not easy, not always easy,
hmm,
but absolutely simple.
absolutely simple to just allow. Thank
Allow.
you. Thank you for allowing me to have you on board as a guest speaker. It was fabulous. It was gracious. We are honored to have you with us. Thank you
Thank
once again.
you. It's a great honor for me too. Thank you
Thank you.
all. Thank you for allowing me.
Thank you. Good night, everybody. Thanks. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, do leave them. We will be visiting the video on and off so that we can address them. And I will also be putting in the way to reach Tania and her amazing work in comments later on. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
once again. Good
Thank
night.
you very much. Thank you.